Hello and welcome to another chess game. I'm going to show you the most double-edged move you have ever seen. It is played by no one else but the world champion Magnus Carlsen. It really is an idea that if Magnus Carlsen plays it, then well, he's a genius and it's an amazing idea. But if anyone else attempts to do something like that, then this person would be just an amateur who doesn't understand chess and should just immediately stop playing it. So let's go to the game. This is a Peter Svidler Magnus Carlsen game from the Legends of Chess tournament. Svidler started with c4, knight f6, knight c3, e5, so the English opening, and g3, bishop b4, and here Svidler plays e4, which is actually Magnus Carlsen's idea, and he played this from the white side several times against Caruana Fabiano. And after bishop takes c3, b takes c, castle, again Svidler continues in sort of the Magnus Carlsen fashion with the move f3. And the idea of f3 is that the white bishop will later go somewhere else than g2, so let's say white plays something like d4, and then the bishop can go to d3. So this is actually how the game goes. So Carlsen plays rook e8, d4, d6, bishop goes to d3, knight c6, knight e2, b6. And we actually got to a very typical position where well, white has the huge center, so all these pawns in the center. However, especially the c4 pawn, so the c4 pawn is a very weak pawn. So black is going to play bishop e6 and knight a5 and could just simply grab this pawn. And what's the idea from the white side, and what's the counterplay for the pawn, is that white is going to launch an attack with g4, f4, knight g3, and just push against the black king, and white has the two bishops, and especially the c1, the dark square bishop, is unmatched, and well, white will try to attack the black king. So this is actually how the game goes. So white plays g4, knight goes d7 to, well, get away of the g5 ideas and also to protect on e5. White castles, and the black bishop goes to a6, putting the pressure on the c4 pawn. And here comes another typical idea. So white plays, Svidler plays knight g3, seemingly giving up the control of the d4 square. So black can grab a pawn, which actually Carlsen does. So takes on d4, takes on d4, knight d4. But the idea is that now white plays bishop b2, and this bishop, as mentioned before, is completely unmatched, and there is this long diagonal that's just dominated by the white dark square bishop. And well, black has a pawn for this, and black normally should defend in this position. But Carlsen, we will see, will have this other idea. So it goes back to knight a6, and white pushes further with f4. And now white has many ideas. So one could be just to push f5 and f6, weakening the dark square around the black king. Or white could also just play g5, knight h5, put the queen somewhere to g4, break the rook, rook f3, rook h3. So there are many ideas here. And here Magnus Carlsen decided that, well, he doesn't want to defend. And, well, which I forgot to mention, this is again a rapid game, so both players has only 15 minutes and 10 seconds increment for the whole game. So not a lot of thinking time. So Carlsen now sort of makes this very double-edged move with the idea, so with the move g5. So why is it double-edged? Well, it's very simple. You just open up your own king and weaken the dark square even further around your king. Well, white has a dark square bishop. This is just going to be a huge monster. So, well, at first this just looks a horrible move. But of course, Carlsen has his idea behind it. So the idea is that g5 attacks the f4 pawn, and once this f pawn is out of the way, then the black knight could arrive on e5, which would actually also cover the diagonal. So that would cover the long diagonal, and also the e5 knight can protect the f7 pawn, because the f file is going to now open. So white takes on g5, queen takes back, and as I said, now the f file is also open, and the bishop is open and everything. So here, actually, white has several good continuations to put pressure on Carlsen. So the computer has a fantastic move here to play, which is h4. And the idea of h4 is that if black grabs the pawn, then knight f5 comes with a tempi. And after say queen g5, white can play bishop c1, and next move the white knight arrives on h6, takes on f7, and the black position is just completely collapsing. So actually black cannot even take on h4, has to play something else. But so h4 is a very good move, and white would have a very serious initiative in this case. But as I said, h4 is a very computerish move, not expected from sort of any grandmasters, any human grandmasters, especially not in a rapid game. But the other very natural move would be just to play knight f5, and it is very surprising that Svidler didn't continue with knight f5. So again, the idea is that there's bishop c1 coming, and then the white knight can jump to h6, putting the pressure on the f7 pawn. And if black plays knight e5, so this was the idea, finally the black knight arrives on e5, covering the diagonal, protecting the f7 pawn, covering the diagonal, like this. Yeah, but here, again, white has a nice idea to push h4, and if black takes on g4, then white can take, and play bishop e2, with again the idea that the knight is going to jump to h6. And again, white has a nice counterplay for the pawns he sacrificed, and actually is going to grab some pawns, so the f7 pawn is likely going to be taken by white. So this was again a great way to continue, and you can see why the move is double-edged, so white had actually many continuation that leads to his advantage. However, while this is also a move, this g5, that very much confuses your opponent, and especially if you're Magnus Carlsen, then everybody believes that this is just a genius move, and after g5 you are just in a bad position, which is not true. White is doing very well after g5. So, as mentioned, taken, and now Svidler continued with rook f5, which is basically the final mistake, and after this black is going to dominate, and Carlsen is going to cruise to victory easily. So comes queen a3 check, king h1, and knight e5. And now this rook looks very stupid on e5, obviously, f5, sorry, the knight should jump there, and yeah, it's just very weird how the white pieces are positioned right now. So the white bishop has to move. Now comes bishop b7, further pressure on the long diagonal, queen c2, knight c5, putting pressure on e4, and well, the e4 pawn is actually now cannot be defended any further, so white is just completely lost. Svidler tried bishop c1, Carlsen took on e4, another pawn, some exchanges on e4, and yeah, black is just up by 2 pawns, the knights are dominant. The white pawn structure is still very weak, the white king is actually quite weak, so there is not much of a, well, any counterplay, not much else to do for white. Well, Svidler plays bishop b2, and actually now Carlsen makes sort of a mistake. He plays rook e6, and here Svidler would have had, well, some chances to escape, not too much to be honest. So he could have tried bishop e5 with the idea that when pawn takes back, there's bishop f3 and there is this pin on the diagonal. And black has to play something like knight f2, king g2, e4, take on f2, take on f3, and well, white got back his pawn, say after king f3, but the black is still up by 1 pawn, the white pawn structure is very weak, and yeah, Magnus Carlsen is the best endgame player, well, arguably ever, so that's also not a lot of chance to escape for white. But actually, Svidler missed this opportunity, didn't take an e5, but just played rook af1, and in a couple of moves he actually already resigned. g5, knight d2, rook f2, third pawn is taken by Carlsen, and here Svidler decided to discontinue the game. So yeah, this was this very double-edged idea from Carlsen, which turned out to be an amazing victory actually to him. But as I said, it's very double-edged, and white would have I mean, white had many greater continuations than what Svidler did. This sums up the game with Magnus Carlsen's most double-edged idea, and in my next video I'm going to show a Armageddon game by Magnus Carlsen and Jan Nepomniachtchi. So that's basically going to be a bullet masterclass, because these guys are just incredibly good at speed chess. And if you enjoyed this video, then give it a thumbs up. And if you don't want to miss my next videos, then subscribe to my channel.